Oh, that's quite funny, isn't it? I'll get rid of it now. Shall I get rid of it? I'd always wanted to kind of get into comedy since I was a kid, but I never... And also, yeah, it was basically disillusionment with the emptiness of a lot of contemporary art, where I just felt that things didn't really mean anything anymore, it was sort of waffle. And that going to a comedy club and saying something that was funny and then eliciting a reaction as big as laughter was, you know, an actual indication that you were communicating. So I went to a comedy club in Chalk Farm and did 10 minutes, and a lot of it was about hating artists. But I am one. And yeah, people laughed. Yeah, well, I think I go out with an artist, it goes wrong. Then I go out with a normal person, get bored, go back out with an artist, goes wrong. This is just like the funniest one was Martin Creed, because I wrote to Take a Break when we split up, and it was called I Fell in Love with a Conceptual Artist and it was totally meaningless. It's funny.
How did he?
I said I said, do Take a Break. I think I was just reading into something that wasn't actually there. Which, and then they wrote back to me saying, "Oh, Miriam," because I told them my true life story, and they went, "Oh, this is hilarious. We've passed around your," which was the whole story of our relationship, but in Take a Break language. They're like, "This is so funny. We've passed it around the whole office. Everyone's laughing." And I wrote back saying, "Why are you laughing at my feelings?" Just really, we blew it up to the size of a billboard at Christmas and put it in a church. And then I took the line, maybe I was reading into something that wasn't actually there, put that outside the church and photographed it, and a ray of light came down from a cloud, and it was very funny. That was like a bomb going off, yeah. And it wasn't, I think it took me about a year to realise it wasn't actually anything to do with Martin Creed. Hi, I'm Miriam Elia, and I think that falling in love is insanity. It took me a long time to actually get the courage to make that piece of work and to put that out in the world, because, my God, I mean, that took some balls, you know, because that's like basically, I've just written the entire relationship and just laughed at it, but it is actually what happened. And for me, you know, when I put it out in the world, people look at it and laugh at it. I'm like, oh great, because it is nothing, it's meaningless to everyone else, that's why it's funny, but to me it's like this huge thing. So I thought, well, one of the lines in it was maybe I was making a drama out of nothing, blowing things way out of proportion. So I decided to make it huge or not do it at all. Just go when you're happy and you know it, ask yourself why. I stopped doing it for a year because I went a bit mad and then sort of got out of it, and then did that giant copy of Take a Break. That was like my catharsis, and now I'm cool with it. But at the time, I used to do a lot of jokes about conceptual art, basically, because my parents are both painters, and they raised me with a vitriolic hatred of conceptual art, because they said that it put them out of work and all other painters, and that it was, quote unquote, a joke. So then I ended up in comedy, so it was all very, and that's when I started seeing Martin, so it was all odd. And I had this show on Radio 4 where I played a conceptual artist who was a prick. So yeah, it was an odd time, because in comedy there's a very small world and everyone knows each other, and you know, if you get into the BBC at that stage, then you start meeting like all these amazing, you know, like Arthur Matthews who wrote Father Ted. Like, I write for him sometimes, he's brilliant, you know, it's just this little pool of people. But the best heckle I ever had was, I did that postmodern Pat and his mixed race cat, and did the whole thing with Pat finding out his cat is just a head and that nothing exists beyond what the camera sees. Because the narrator goes, "Pat, your world is a fictional construction and your cat is just a head." And someone heckled me and went, "It's postman Pat, not postmodern." And I was like, yes, that was brilliant. She gets it, the girl with the pink. I did a gig once, in a stand-up gig in front of a Christian audience, which was very funny, in a church in West London to raise money for some charity. I can't remember what it was.
Christian Aid.
Christian AIDS or something. And And I was doing really badly, and it was like total silence. It was really uncomfortable. And at the end of it, I was like, look, this hasn't really worked out. And this was within a minute of starting. I was like, they don't like me, whatever. And then after a minute, I was like, well, it's not the first time a Jew's died in front of a Christian audience. you got to give me some credit. That made it even worse. Well, I'm going to do a lot more art shows showing. I'd really like to do a solo show this year with showing kind of the leap between the comedy and what I did in comedy and my art, my visual art, and just showing the kind of link with I Fell in Love as a kind of, obviously, the bridge between the two. And I'm doing a book about my manic depressive hamster, which I'm really looking forward to, which is coming out with Macmillan and Fischer Verlag in Germany. And it's the memoirs of a hamster, 1 year in his life in a cage. And it's called The Diary of Edward the Hamster, 1990 to 1990, because he only lived a year. And it's a kind of, I've illustrated it, it's all black and white, very angsty. And he sort of chain smokes. He's like, I'm not going to use the wheel today. Use the wheel today. I've co-written it with my brother, who's a brilliant writer, and we often write together. And we thought when it comes out, we're going to do a solo exhibition by Edward the hamster, so with lots of tiny work. Because the idea is that we've found Edward's cage 20 years after he's died, and it's just full of his art, his diary, his memoirs. He's like a genius hamster. So that's my other big project this year, which I'm really looking forward to. I was on the train, this is 3 weeks ago. This is another insulting thing, I was with a Christian audience. I had these two Muslim women in hijab come up to me on the Victoria line, and I was going towards Finsbury Park, and they went, excuse me, we need to go Hammersmith. I was like, you're on the wrong train, you need to go back one station, cross over the platform, get on the Shepherd's Bush line to... They were like, but we won't go, so we're going right, wait, no. I was like, no, you're not. You need to go back one station, cross over the King's Cross. And I took them over to show the map. I was like, anyway, the train stops and the doors open, there's this moment of silence. I'm like, look, just go back where you came from. Really loud. And then everyone else, everyone stopped, it was so funny. And then I ended up like apologising to everyone. I was like, no, I was talking about directions. It was really funny. Well, there's God looking angry with her.